Ethanol, brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. In 500 miles on the oval track, drivers completing a race go round hundreds of banks. So ever wonder how a racer's bucks stack up? Well, drivers of different experience are paid different ways. First-year rookies receive salaries and small percentages of the race purse. Veteran drivers not only bank larger salaries, they also pocket up to half of the race winnings. In most forms of racing, drivers who've been champion make at least $2 million a year, and multiple championships ka-ching up to $5 million. Bottom line in racing, practice makes perfect, and some drivers very wealthy. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with another Car Clinic Minute. It's gone up again. No, I'm not talking lottery jackpot. I'm talking gas prices. But don't despair. When I come back, I'll tell you how to fill up your tank without emptying your wallet. Heat. It can destroy your engine. Beat the heat with Purple Ice from Royal Purple. Purple Ice is a high-performance additive for your radiator that improves heat transfer and prevents engine overheating. Nothing cools like Purple Ice, and Purple Ice works with red or green coolant. Go to ReduceEngineHeat for more information. Then pick up Purple Ice at Advance and O'Reilly Auto Parts and Pep Boys. That's Purple Ice. If filling your draining your funds, increase your odds for better gas mileage by following the Lotto principle. L-O-T-T-O. L, less weight, means better gas mileage, so don't use your trunk as storage space. O, observe speed limits, because increasing 55 to 75 decreases MPG 25%. T, turn off engine if idling more than 1 minute. T, travel when traffic's lightest to avoid stop-and-go driving. And O, operate vehicles at peak efficiency by flushing cooling systems every 2 years, which will also help avoid repairs. Jackpot! I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Brought to you by Royal Purple Synthetic Oil, the performance oil that outperforms.
You just get near the ocean and you either have that salt water in your blood or you don't. Once you've experienced a ride in an offshore powerboat, big block, the sound of the power and then the speed, for the rest of your life, you will never ever forget it. I'm Mark Granite, driver, world champion Miss Geico offshore race boat. On the the ocean, there's no laws. You can go as fast as you want out there. So every weekend, we all met and we were out racing and running our boats. I never thought for a moment it would be what my profession was. You gotta learn how to win. Put together the right team and the people around you that can help take each step to become a champion. This crew works from 8 in the morning till 10 at night. 6, 7 days a week. Dedication to a common goal. To win. That's it, to win. Offshore powerboat racing is unique. There's a throttle man and a driver traveling at close to a football field a second to become one. Then you got your race boat. What propellers you run? What gear ratio you run? How are the engines? Are all systems working? Have you got enough test time? What happened in your last race? The crew, they are some really, really bright guys. And even then, things can go horribly wrong. Look, offshore racing is the most deadly motorsport there is, period. We've lost a lot of friends. And those are tremendously difficult moments. But winning races isn't about the unknown. It's about being faster than the other guy. When the referees call the racers to the middle, it gets very, very intense. You become hyper-focused, hyper-tuned into all the things that are happening. Every beat of the engine, the way the water's slapping the hull, the smells coming through the cockpit, the heat, pure power these boats take off. And then it goes to quiet. That freedom, that openness, that power is unbelievably intoxicating. No question that we're given the tool, the weapon, to do what we need to on the race course. We're unbeatable. You just get near the ocean and you either have that salt water in your blood or you don't. Once you've experienced a ride in an offshore powerboat, big blocks turn on, and the sound of the power and then the speed. For the rest of your life, you will never ever forget it. Mark Granite, driver, world champion Miss Geico offshore race boat. On the ocean, there's no laws. You can go as fast as you want out there. So every weekend, we all met and racing and running our boats. I never thought for a moment it would be what my profession was. You got to learn how to win.
Thank you, Marty White. Welcome to today's edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Indeed, if you have a question, Miss Kim is in the house, and she'll take your calls at 888 Car Clinic. That's 888-227-2546. It's been a great week. It's been a rather warm week, and we've seen a lot of casualties from the heat. Indeed, a shop full of cars, and if your car happens to be one of the many cars that have been in shops for this past week due to radiators or transmission problems or brakes or whatever, you need to stay tuned right along with me this hour, and I'll take your car questions, and I'll help you maybe save some money and keep your car in your garage and out of the repair garage. This segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you by Delphi, not just quality parts, Delphi quality parts. Connect with Delphi Auto Parts on Facebook for tech tips and some great auto advice. Also, I'm proud to say this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you by PowerFrame Grid Technology. You know, you've heard me talk about batteries. Batteries may all look the same from the outside, but it's what's inside that really matters. Get a battery with a technology to be stronger and more dependable. Look for the PowerFrame logo on the outside. That means true strength on the inside. For more information, check it out at powerframe.com. Your calls when I come back. Joe is going to be first up. I see Jim is calling in from Michigan. So your calls at 888 Car Clinic. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. When it comes to your car battery, you expect it to work. Turn the key and go. Thanks to state-of-the-art engineering, strong, consistent starts are exactly what you get with PowerFrame Grid Technology. Batteries that use PowerFrame Grid Technology provide superior cranking power with up to 70% better electrical flow than other grid designs. Look for the PowerFrame logo on the outside of your next battery. It means true strength on the inside. Visit powerframe.com to find a retailer near you. Your vehicle's fuel pump pushes to the engine, an important step in keeping you on the road. If a pump fails, replace it with a brand you can trust. Delphi covers 9 out of 10 vehicles on the road and is backed by a lifetime guarantee. Delphi fuel pumps simplify your repair with smart, durable parts to get you back on the road fast. When it comes time for repair, remember with Delphi parts, it's quality, it's Delphi quality. Learn more at DelphiAutoparts.com. Let's go to the Car Clinic mail bag. Here's a question from John in Oklahoma. Dear Bobby, a friend and I were in my garage working on my '05 Torch Red Mustang, and he noticed I had a K&N cold air intake. He mentioned that he and his son recently installed an AEM kit on his 2010 Dodge Challenger. Being a huge fan of K&N, I asked why he didn't use a K&N cold air intake. He said that K&N actually makes AEM products. I thought they were competitors. Thanks for John. We checked with K&N and found out your friend is right. In fact, AEM has been a part of K&N since 2009. But while they're in the K&N family, AEM products are still uniquely AEM. Spectre Performance is another company that's now also part of K&N. Thanks again for checking in. Well, there you have it, the latest. AEM and Spectre Performance are part of K&N. Learn more at knfilters.com. That's knfilters.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Like Shakespeare, we ask the question, what's in a name? Ours is pretty blah. We're Geico, not to be confused with Gecko, a small tree lizard. And no, Geico doesn't have a sister company named Girl Co. So, in the absence of a perfect name, focus group tested for hipness, we offer car insurance at a fair price. In 15 minutes, you could save 15%. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Our name may not be cool, but always is. Geico Direct, the sense.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
I tend to put things off. For example, I put off getting a home equity line of credit for a while. Then one day, when I should have been doing my laundry, I went to LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form and got 4 offers back within hours. Then I chose the line of credit that was right for me. Who knows? I may even get around to using it someday.
When banks compete, you win. Equal housing opportunity. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get this show on the road. Kim will take your call. In fact, she's taking a lot of without ado, I'm going to go directly into the calls, and then I'm going to share with you a little bit later in today's program some very interesting information from Kelly Davis, actually is the Director of Regulatory Affairs with the Renewable Fuels Association. We're going to be connecting with her, maybe 30 minutes from now or so, a little toward the end of the program this hour. And then next hour, we've got a gentleman from Denso Auto Parts scheduled to be with us to talk about none other than Iridium TT spark plugs. In the meantime, you can check those out at DensoAutoparts.com or Denso.com, or just Google Iridium TT, a great spark plug. And I have some questions of my own from the gentleman. But first, let's go to Joe in Nebraska. Joe, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you in the house.
Hey, Bobby, how you doing?
I'm
nice
great.
to talk to you again.
It's my pleasure. How's the weather in Nebraska?
Go ahead.
How's the weather in Nebraska?
Hot. Hey, my question for you this time, last time I talked to you, I had a Dodge, an 01 Dodge, and I had a fuse problem, and apparently I got T-boned, and so the Dodge is now gone, and now I have a Ford Explorer, and here's my question.
Okay.
It's an '03 Ford Explorer, and then when I got it, it had 11.1 miles per gallon. And I tried different fuels, nothing seemed to work. I put in some octane booster in there, and it seemed to bring it up to 13. My question for you is, since I'm getting 13, do you know much about a Ford Explorer in '03?
Well, here's what I'm going to share with you. In our service shop and in many service shops across the states, we call them exploders.
Yep.
And you may, that's just a common name for an Explorer, is exploder. And so we've had, I think next to many of the GM cars, maybe because GM has so many cars on the road, they really keep business humming in service shops. Having said that, in no automobile, whether it's an Explorer or a Chevrolet or a Mercedes-Benz, is any better nor worse than the other when you look at the maintenance if you've taken care of the vehicle. Now, you mentioned 13 miles a gallon. And, Joe, when you call, and in fact, Kim put on the screen what should be gas mileage should be, and what kind of, she just mentioned a couple of words because that's all I see on your screen. But the bottom line, 16 on the highway, 13 in town is good. What surprises me is that you actually saw an increase, and it's not a clinical test by any stretch, because that you saw an increase when you went to the octane boost. But quite candidly, that engine was not manufactured for premium fuel, and it really does not have the internal pressure nor the heat that requires a higher octane. So when you added the octane, and I suspect that once you saw 11 miles per gallon, your driving habits were also more cognizant of MPG or low MPG. I do that same thing. Sometimes one of my gas tanks will fall off, and I say, wow, I used to get 26.7. Last time I got 25.4. What is this? And then I realized that, well, yeah, I stopped and took a break and let the engine idle for some 12 to 15 minutes. Not supposed to do that, but hey, it's hot. So there are a lot of factors when you start figuring MPG. Where I would use the lower octane fuel. There are
87?
Yeah, absolutely. I would use 87. And I would also make sure that the tires are on the plus side of inflation. If it calls for 32, put 35 in them. And you look on your door jamb for it, not on the side wall of the tire. That's a spec that the Tire Department of Transportation, DOT spec, and the tire manufacturer agree that's what that load will hold the tire at the maximum load, and that's not what you run in the tire. That's a circumstance that sort of like hurricane-proof 120 mile per hour buildings. So the bottom line, make sure your tire pressure is good, alignment. I would definitely use the lower octane. You will get the same gas mileage, if not better. And then maybe run an injector cleaner, and there are tons of injector cleaners on the shelves of auto parts.
Do they work well?
Well, they do if you've got They do if you apply the cleaner correctly, and not many people know how to apply an injector cleaner. An injector cleaner, as a rule, comes in a 20 ounce or 15 or 18 ounce can, and there's only 3 to 5 ounces of active ingredient. The rest is bulk, and you have to have some carrier. So it's a petroleum product that carries 5 ounces of the good stuff. It's not like an injection of the raw material. It's like cake coloring. If you want something a certain color, you put several drops. But if you put the whole bottle, well, you know what happens. So that's the way products are made. Now, having said that, what I've done for many years, dosed 1 full tank of fuel. But I did this prior to, when you double dose, now you've got 10 ounces of the active ingredient. And by the way, Joe, you want to use any cleaner, and folks, you want to use any liquid cleaner, which is what you add to a gas tank, with the vehicle being driven slow, short trips. In other words, if you're going from D.C. to New York, you want short trips, because you want that vehicle to crank up and run and get warm, shut it down, crank up, run. Every time you fire it up, another layer of debris is washed off the pistons and the back of the valves and the injectors as well. And especially this is especially true overnight. So you can't expect, say, 50,000 miles of debris buildup to be wiped away with 1 bottle on a trip from Birmingham to Atlanta and back. That doesn't work. So that's my tip of the day, to make sure that you use a double dose and then 1 follow-on. I would not recommend the double dose of injector cleaner until you are ready to change the oil and filter, because my methodology really puts more of the active ingredient, the power ingredient, in the mouth of the engine and in the injectors, some of which, as you know, will end up in the oil. So you want to run the 2 bottles of injector cleaner maybe a week in the vehicle around town, and then put another batch of gasoline, and then change oil and filter, and I guarantee you will see the best gas mileage out of that without modifying that setup. And then, of course, the one last part that you could do on that particular underpowered vehicle, and it is to install a quality air filter at high flow, like K&N. You've heard me talk about K&N.
Yeah, I've about K&N. I'm thought about doing it.
Absolutely.
For the expense, it's probably worth it.
Oh, it is worth it. I mean, look at the dollars per gallon, the miles per gallon. So K&N, one thing about K&N, you put a K&N filter, you never have to buy another one. So that's the savings. It's landfills as well as the paper, because it's not made of paper, it's made of a flannel-like material. So that's what I would recommend were I to an Explorer that I just got, and I want to sort of get it headed back in the right direction. You got it?
Yes. Bobby, it's always a pleasure. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thanks for your call, Joe. I'll take a call from George. George, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hello, Bobby.
Yes, sir.
Listen, well, thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome.
First place.
My pleasure. My pleasure. That's what I'm here for.
And listen, I had a 2003 Dodge Caravan.
Okay.
And the tires were starting to wear a little bit, so I went in and I got the front end alignment in 2012. And in 2014, I bought new tires.
Okay.
And then just here recently, I checked after I got the new tires, and they looked like I was wearing again. So I had them rotated, and they took them off, and they were completely bald. They were through the thread. At the thread of the tire.
Well, anytime you see a thread of a tire,
right,
that means that it's probably on the inside or on the outside. It won't be in the center.
Right, it was on the inside, yes.
Yeah, well, you've got an alignment problem. I mean, that's not rocket science there. Tires scuff along just like your feet. You shuffle along, and imagine being pigeon-toed, or imagine if your put your toes out and you scrub your feet along. That's exactly what happens to the rubber on a tire. As you roll, the wheels are the wheels are supposed to be pointed directly ahead and pulled in just maybe a 1/16 of an inch, so that the rolling resistance makes them pull out and track true and straight, just like a pair of railroad tracks. That's the way toe in and out. And also then you've got camber and caster. But George, there's no question your vehicle may have a front end alignment. I mean, it has a front end alignment problem, but because you couldn't possibly put new tires on quickly. How many miles tires were installed?
4,325.
Well, that makes absolutely zero sense. You don't have to be a technician. You don't have to be Bobby Likis to know something's wrong there. So, George, my advice to you is to go back where you bought the tires and where you had the vehicle aligned and ask them, hey, what's up here? And, folks, we have a short commercial break that's up. I'll be back after the break. Stay with me.
Out there, gunk, corrosion, and wear relentlessly preying on engines. But new Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium provides unbeatable protection from gunk and corrosion and superior protection against wear for the best total engine protection you can get. Stay ahead of engine threats with new Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline today.
Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. The economic impact of domestic ethanol production is felt far outside the gates of the ethanol biorefinery. According to analysis from economic research firm Cardno Intrix, the ethanol industry added $42.4 billion to the U.S.'s gross domestic product, and the production of 13.9 billion gallons of ethanol supported 90,200 direct jobs and over 311,000 indirect jobs all across this country. And jobs in domestic renewable fuels production are just that. All-American jobs. Unlike outsourcing our oil needs to jobs in Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, or Canada, domestic ethanol production creates jobs that cannot be sent overseas. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Drive to ethanolrfa.org. What's grinding you? Your brakes? Don't succumb to that daily grind. Stop it with Carlson. Wire or brake professional, choose Carlson quality brake hardware, the highest quality materials and processes. Carlson controls the design, engineering, and manufacturing of all their brake hardware, ensuring proper fit and performance. Why risk your brake job with inferior brake hardware that may not fit or perform properly? Eliminate the risk by asking for quality brake hardware kits for every brake job.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
Higher, 98.
Higher.
Higher, 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100.
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you join us today. And just remember, every Saturday, Eastern Time, not to be confused with Central or Pacific or Mountain Time, at 10 till noon Eastern Time, the program airs live. So just remember, if you're listening and you're listening to this program and it's after the fact, remember next Saturday you can tune in 10 till noon Eastern Time and give us a call at 888-CAR-CLINIC. We're live as we speak. And by the way, earlier in the program, I had a caller that talked about his Explorer, as you may have heard. He talked about how can he increase gas mileage, and I gave him some advice on how to properly clean, at least in my the way that I would recommend that you use an injector cleaner. and it made a difference. And speaking of difference, I want to share with you the difference in air filters, K&N, the K&N difference. In my personal cars, I run the K&N filters, the air filters. And also, as of about a year ago, I'm now running the cabin air filters, in not only in my cars, but in our Car Clinic Service pre-repair customers' cars. And the K&N makes a difference. Maximize power. Also, a K&N air filter will maximize the torque, which can improve MPG, which is a good thing. That's money in your pocket. And I think what's the neatest thing about the K&N product, besides I compare them to Apple because I love Apple products. I love the quality, and K&N has that same look. You can just pull it out of the box and you feel of it and tell it's a quality part. And you buy one air filter, and you clean it, I'm going to say at 50,000 miles, depending on where you drive, but 50,000 miles. Then you recharge it, and there's a recharger kit. There are also instructions, so you don't have to experiment and learn the hard way. You can go to knfilters.com. That's knfilters.com, and there are videos and tutorials there. Also, great information with regard to cold air intake kits. And you heard earlier in the program that AEM cold air kits and Spectre Performance are all products that are K&N manufactured. So regardless of what you use in your car, you can only make it better with the K&N difference, and that's what I recommend to my customers in my shop and right here on Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Okay, we're going to go to the phones. We'll take your calls at 888-227-2546. Jim, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thanks for holding. How are you doing this week?
I'm doing pretty good, Bobby. Looking forward to a party today and a barbecue at my place tomorrow, and the weather's great here in Michigan.
Well, you know, to that end, it's ironic that you would have a party today because the whole Gulf Coast and around our area today is Blue Angels Day, and there will be more than 100, I'm going to guess, I'm just going to throw it out there, 150,000 people at least, and it's not a place that you would want to be if you don't want to be stuck in traffic. And for a change, yours truly is actually going to attend the Blue Angels show that's today at 2. And I'm going by boat because I can tell you by the time I get out of this Car Clinic studio, there's no way that I could get to the beach by 2 o'clock. That's going to be a really, talk about traffic jam, talk about cars, no downs on the Bay Bridge. So we'll see just how prepared the local folks are and tourists when they want to take in today's program. So what's in the news from the automotive world?
Okay, Bobby, the biggest thing is, and we want to stick to the bare facts on this one, Chevrolet is employing a 700-pound grizzly bear and a fake superhero to prove that aluminum is not as sturdy as you'd want it to be on your truck. It might prevent rust. It might give you mileage. Will it give you more safety? And if you do get a crash where they have to repair it, they're put together differently. It takes longer, and it costs more.
Well, I would agree with it takes longer and costs more. And I say takes longer because it's a new technology. And folks, we're talking about aluminum and where this all started. And Jim, you know this, and folks, so that you'll know, Ford's 2015 F-150 is made of aluminum. It's 720 or 732 pounds lighter, so it's instantly higher in MPG because you have less weight to pull, and you still can pull the same workload. So this is, Jim, then a GM commercial using a big gorilla and giving the impression where you squeeze a can, a soda can, and that's what a aluminum Ford truck's going to do to crash. Is that what you're saying?
No, that's what I'm saying. Which is better, the aluminum superhero or the man of steel? What do you want behind your wheel?
Given the technology that we have with today's automobile, and I would ask this: would you rather have? So let me shift gears. Rather have open heart surgery in a 1970s OR or a 2015 OR? And nowadays they're doing stent. You know, they're doing a lot of, and I'm not a surgeon, but they're doing a lot of surgeries without making other than just a little portal, as you know. So
I've been there.
Yeah, well, there you go. And so I would say to GM, nice try, but doesn't float my boat. I'll take the aluminum, lighter beast of a truck. And after all, there's a 12-point, let's see if my memory serves me well, there's a 12-point design around the front perimeter of that Ford truck, and the frame is actually stronger than its predecessor, and I believe the frame is steel, as memory serves me. The truck is aluminum, the body, but the frame is steel. So, hats off to GM. You know what's great about it, Jim? It's competition.
That's the point right there, because when you advertise this commercial of going con against GM, it's also giving GM a plug at the same time.
Sure it is. Sure it is. Anytime you mention there's a famous attorney that lives in Pensacola, and his name is Fred Levin, and he is the second most successful, sorry, Fred, I understand you're the second, and you could be the first now, attorney in the United States. And he is not only brilliant, he knows his limitations, and his one keyword, and I've heard him many, many times on many interviews talk about preparation, preparation, preparation. His first case when he went to University of Florida was against the big dog. I mean, it was the little guy against the big dog, and he says, and I quote, "I was scared to death," he said. So I prepared. And when we got in a court of law, he said, "That was my first case, and I won $50,000. I said, "Well, this is pretty easy. I think I'll do this." And that, lo and behold, he's obviously very smart. He's a genius in his field, no doubt. But the point is, he says, "I'll take press, good press, bad press, anyway, anytime they're mentioning me." So we're talking about GM versus Ford, and Ford has the aluminum. I don't know. Let me ask you, you're a GM man. Which?
I would prefer the steel, the sturdiness of a steel, the reliability of it to haul better, design better. I like steel.
I knew it. Well, let's see. Let's wait 3 or 4 or 5 years. Of course, you're going to be with GM, and folks, this gentleman's son works with GM. Is that correct?
That is correct, and he's quite a guy, and he does a lot that is recognized by GM in a proud fashion.
Wow, really? With GM, Jim?
He's the designer of the new features of OnStar.
Really? Oh, that's a fantastic.
And he made
company.
sure that Dad installed OnStar in his next car too. I got OnStar, I love it.
Oh, OnStar's, OnStar. Folks think that you only use OnStar in a case of emergency, but that's not correct at all. You use for directions and what have you. We've actually produced a remote broadcast from the RenCen there in Detroit in their OnStar studios, and Acoustic Systems in Austin, Texas, the company that made our studios to our specifications, also built the OnStar studio. And folks, you should see this. When you think of NASA and the big screens that NASA have in the command center, that's what OnStar. Jim, have you been there?
No, I have not, but I would certainly like to try.
Well, I will tell you, you should get your son to give you the tour, because in the RenCen there in Detroit, there are screens where the folks at OnStar, and they're different icons. For instance, they're triangular shaped and they're round shaped, and some are communicating drivers across America wanting directions. Some are cars that are stolen that they're trying to recover and find. And what was really neat is that there was one screen. Screens are, I'm going to say 50-inch screens or 40-inch, well, 50-inch, either way. Maybe they're even larger than that, maybe 100-inch screens. But the bottom line, there was one that gave a report on yesterday's performance at OnStar. And a lot of folks don't know this, but there were 140,000 minutes that OnStar actually made money on, because they provide hands-free calling. And so that not only is a business model that works well for OnStar, but it also provides a service, a safety service. I love OnStar. I love OnStar. I think it's fantastic.
Well, we use it all the time. You can subscribe to their car phone, which every month rolls over 2 minutes if you don't use it often, and that I like.
Hey, Jim, thank you so much for your call today, and I'll have to ponder the Ford versus Chevy, the Gorilla versus the crushing the aluminum can versus the steel. I mean, steel does have a great ring to it, doesn't it?
It does indeed. You got it.
All right, my friend. Thank you very much.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. 888-227-2546. John, a quick call from John. Welcome to Bobby. What can I do for you?
Hi, I had called you before. Thank you. I have a 1996 Pontiac Firebird, 3.8 liter V6.
Okay.
Like relatively like 85,500 miles on it, and the code it pulled up at my friends at O'Reilly's down the road that said P1406. Well, that was the EGR pencil portion circuit.
Okay.
So I changed that. Well, the lights, the service light, engine light still comes on and all. It stays on now, and I quit driving it because of this. And I'm just wondering if there's a way to test it, or that on the EGR pencil portion circuit, it kept popping this little cap on the end of it off. And also, it said something about the purge valve canister, which you got to drop in fuel tank to get to this.
Yes, and you're
so.
And John, that's both good questions. Here's what I recommend. Number one, when you have a code when the car has a code, that means that the car recognizes either a fault with a part or a fault with the wiring, or it could be that part is dependent on another operation of the engine. And I'll give you a quick example. We see a lot of traction modules that are disabled, and the stable track light will come on, and there's nothing wrong with the traction control. It is the engine that has a problem, but the traction control says, hey, wait a minute, you're the engine, you got a problem, and I can't do my job unless I know that you're 100% healthy. And therefore, I will flag the driver and say, driver, I'm out of here. I'm not working. I'm turning. And that's the way it works. So diagnostics with an ASE certified technician, that's your direction, John. And folks, your direction is to stay right here. We've got Kelly Davis, Director of Regulatory Affairs with Renewable Fuels, coming up. This Tire Maintenance Minute is brought to you by General Tire, anywhere as possible with a grabber line of light truck tires, born from competition. Abraham Lincoln, not just our 16th president, but also an industry standard for measuring tire tread depth. Insert a penny point of the tire tread, and if the tread disappears, okay. But tread depth isn't the only component for tire safety. Tire age also counts. The Rolling Stones might disagree, but time is not on your tire's side as rubber compounds in a tire deteriorate. Cracks develop, which can cause steel belts in the tread to separate from the rest of the tire, compromising drivability and safety. Best advice is to consult your local tire professional on when to replace old tires. Drive to GeneralTire.com to learn more about the Grabber line of light truck tires. Anywhere is possible with Grabber. For more details, visit GeneralTire.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up be a chore, but mornings knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up. Folgers in your cup.
Good night, Prevotella. Good night, Actinomyces. Good night, Streptococcus.
Germs, millions of them. They've been building up in your mouth all day, and some of them can even disease gingivitis. Say goodnight with Listerine. Just 30 seconds of Listerine before bed kills germs, even germs that can cause gingivitis. Use Listerine every night and go to sleep with a healthier mouth. See your dentist. Use as directed when brushing and flossing aren't enough.
If you're familiar with the cultivated section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the cultivated section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositions, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, and by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with sniffed like new condition lemurs. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's Vehicle Protection Program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. Motors, a better way to sell your Kerr.
Now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Great program today. Call with your car questions at 888 Car Clinic. Joining me on the hotline now is Kelly Davis, Director of Regulatory Affairs for the Renewable Fuels Association. Kelly's just back from a trade mission to Mexico and Japan exploring ethanol export opportunities. Kelly, welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to be sharing a mic with you this morning.
Well, thanks, Bobby. It's glad to talk to you again, too.
Let's get right into the heart of the matter. Give Car Clinic listeners and viewers the 10,000-foot view picture of the trips that you took to Mexico and Japan. With whom did you meet? What are the general marketplace conditions there with regard to fuel, and specifically ethanol-blended fuels?
Yeah, for Japan, it was a very nice trip. We were in Tokyo mostly for the meetings. In Japan, beginning in 2011 through 2017, the refiners there have a mandate to introduce ethanol into the fuel supply. So Japan's refiners chose ETBE at a 7% volume to meet their mandate. For your listeners, ETBE, it's an ether that's made with ethanol as the feedstock, and they make this ether at the petroleum refineries.
Wow.
In Japan, they use 14 billion gallons a year annually of gasoline, and that has actually been trending down. And for scale, that's about the size of our U.S. ethanol industry.
So we are producing and actually distributing a little over 14 billion gallons of ethanol. Their complete gasoline use is only 14 billion gallons?
Correct. It was quite interesting to learn that. Of course, Japan is currently undergoing its energy policy reviews post their earthquake, and of course, powering Japan. The nuclear power industry is certainly taking precedence, but the transportation fuels in Japan aren't really necessarily considered a top priority because they feel they already have a lot of fuel efficiency gains, and they have a decreasing transportation fuel market overall. Nevertheless, it was a great opportunity for us to go over there to express that the U.S. ethanol has exports available that they can use in their transportation fuel.
One question that I do have that I do want to get an answer to before we go too much deeper is ETBE. What does that stand for?
Ethyl tertiary butyl ether. It is a nice fuel. It's a complementary fuel. You remember the MTBE that became poisonous to the groundwater?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, ETBE is like a cousin complementary, very similar fuel to MTBE, but without the same toxic properties. It's an ether, and it's made at a petroleum refinery and fits right into the fuel supply and uses ethanol as the feedstock to make it.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
We actually make that product in Houston, and it's imported from Japan into from Houston.
Cool, that's great. So what are the obstacles that the U.S. ethanol producers face with respect to energy markets in Mexico and Japan? And then I didn't quite get, or I didn't allow you to get to the second half of your Mexico trip. Tell us about that.
Well, Mexico was an exciting trip because I think there's near-term opportunities in Mexico for U.S. corn ethanol. Mexico has a history of not using ethanol, but they have new energy reforms, and that may change their way of thinking. Mexico has enacted an energy reform bill which opens up their full energy sector to competition. Under the reforms, Pemex, some of your listeners may know that, Pemex is a state-owned oil company. They'll remain state-owned, but will need to be profitable and will have to compete with domestic and international competitors beginning in 2017. And this is where we feel our price competitive advantage could lead Pemex to using more ethanol in the future as a way to gain competitive edge against international competitors. So in April of this year, Pemex announced that they signed contracts with 6 domestic Mexican firms to supply ethanol for the first time for its Magna regular grade gasoline. We're pretty excited about that. If there's a way from the trade missions is that international markets remain open to dialogue with the U.S. in accessing our ethanol. The next step for ethanol producers is to determine the needs of each nation as it relates to the use of ethanol, bearing in mind that the regulations already present To be clear, there are many hurdles to jump through in the coming years, but our delegations are encouraged by our meetings with officials in both countries.
So Mexico will use ethanol as an additive for the enhancement of octane and also as an oxygen. Is that correct?
Correct, and also for clean air supply, too, as well, thinking about their air.
So, Kelly, let's shift gears. What is the industry doing to promote the export of U.S. ethanol to international markets? I know that you've shared with us a little bit about Japan and also about Mexico, but specifically, what's the industry doing to try to move that forward?
Well, the RFA participates in a trade promotion partnership along with Growth Energy and the U.S. Grains Council to explore these ethanol export opportunities. We also work closely with the Department of Commerce, which promotes exports of all American renewable energy commodities and technologies, but we work with them explicitly to promote ethanol exports around. Ethanol consumption around the world is still increasing, mostly thanks to biofuels and these climate change policies, and the U.S. ethanol has become cost competitive.
Share with our Carcant listeners what other international markets, in addition to Mexico and Japan, as you've spoken to, what's on the horizon for U.S. ethanol imports globally?
Well, RFA has already participated in ethanol trade missions to Lima, Peru, Panama, the Philippines. We've been to Japan. We've been to China, Mexico, as we just talked about. We generally, when we get there, we talk to government officials about regulations and things, but our intentions are to assess the potential for the actual ethanol export growth into these countries. We have become extremely competitive. American-made ethanol has. Last year, we exported over 800 million gallons to over 51 countries, Bobby. The revenue from these exports has been instrumental in helping our industry remain competitive at this time. And also, besides that, it really helps our rural economies continue to grow as well.
We're talking with Kelly Davis, Director of Regulatory Affairs for the Renewable Fuels Association. Kelly, the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, held a public meeting June 25th in Kansas City, Kansas, regarding its RFS proposal. RFS is the Renewable Fuel Standard. There's been a lot of frustration with the EPA proposal, as you're well aware, particularly with respect to renewable volume requirements for 2014, 15, and 16. Can you give our audiences a quick overview of the renewable volume requirements, what they are, and what they're intended to do?
Well, the Renewable Fuel Standard, that's America's energy program. And Congress adopted the RFS in 2005 and then expanded it again in 2007. The program generally requires oil companies to blend volumes of renewable fuels into the gasoline and diesel supply, reaching 36 billion gallons a year in the year 2022. Of course, the reason they enacted this rule, there's plenty of benefits to the RFS. It's a job creator, reduces dependence on foreign oil, it keeps rural America strong, and basically it reduces prices at the pumps. The RFS was intended to establish the groundwork and the infrastructure necessary to create a healthy biofuel competitors to the oil industry.
Well, it sounds to me like there's some shifting of gears by the EPA with regard to what the renewable fuel standard was intended and was signed into law to be, and of course what they're doing. I know that you didn't attend the hearing, but the Renewable Fuels Association's Senior Vice President Jeff Cooper, who has been with us a couple of times on Car Clinic, and RFA's Board Chairman Randall Doyle were both there and testified. Give us an overview of the message that the Renewable Fuels Association wanted the EPA to hear.
Well, we're 10 years into a very successful U.S. energy program, and by any measure, it's been a success. It has stimulated growth in biofuel production. It has revitalized our rural economies. It does reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and it has lowered our pump prices. It has reduced our petroleum consumption and introduced competition into the fuel market, which is precisely why the oil industry, who has got to EPA's ear, and they oppose the program, and they're eventually calling for the repeal. The oil industry just does not like this competition.
Well, certainly they have the ear of the EPA, or at least it appears that way. What are the next steps in the process for the EPA regarding the RFS? Again, that's the renewable fuel standard. So I'm a little confused, and I know that our listeners have to be with regard to what the law was designed to do and renewable fuel standard was designed to do, and it starts to work. It's 10 years. That's a long time, but it certainly has the track record. It's certainly working. So what's up?
Well, like you said, we think the oil industry has EPA's ear. We always eventually knew we would get to the blend wall. The oil industry is just refusing to blend more than 10% ethanol, even though E15 has been approved by the EPA. So, we believe the EPA is overstepping its bounds of its legal authority. The next steps for us is that we just showed up in Kansas City in full force. There were over 230 pro-ethanol speakers at this public hearing. That was an all-day public hearing. Very few oil industry voices showed up there. This was just a proposed rule. So we're really hoping that the public hearing, we actually had the EPA listen to us for this time around.
Well, that's encouraging, and it's exciting, and I can't wait for the next series of reports. We've been talking with Kelly Davis, Director of Regulatory Affairs for the Renewable Fuels Association. And folks, just for your information, Kelly and I have worked on stage before with the CARS convention, the Congress of Automotive Repair and Service. And not only is she well versed on renewable fuel standard, but she's also a chemist. So, Miss Kelly, you know a bit or two about fuels and cars.
Not cars as much as I do the fuels.
Well, you can't have one without the other, and that's what this is all about, driving us down and driving America to less expense at the pump and to cleaner air. And, of course, ethanol plays a huge part. And, again, I want to reiterate, as you said, the EPA has approved E15, which is 15% ethanol and 85% gasoline for all cars and small trucks 2001 and newer. And also, correct me if I'm wrong, but is it not correct that more than 80% of all cars on America's roads can run E15 currently?
Yes, that is true.
Give us a website in closing where our Car Clinic listeners and viewers can get more information with regard to renewable fuels, energy, Renewable Fuels Association, and ethanol.
You can check us out on our website at www.ethanolrfa.org.
Thank you, Kelly. Great to have you in the house again. Kelly Davis, Director of Regulatory Affairs for the Renewable Fuels Association. Thanks for joining us today, and thanks for traveling the globe, expanding the trade that obviously will bring dollars on our shore. What a unique, novel idea.
It is. Thank you.
That is a novel idea, for sure. Instead of our money going offshore, we have other countries' dollars coming onshore. How cool is that? Kelly Davis is just, she's really a nice lady. I'd love for you folks to meet her, because she's, as I said, she's a chemist. And we were at the Congress and Automotive Repair Convention in New Orleans a couple of years at a automotive repair task force presentation. And I was privileged to take the stage with her. And also joining us on that stage was the chief engineer for Ricardo. Now, if you've never heard of Ricardo and ethanol are synonymous with horsepower and engineering and all of the assets that I can really the benefits that I can think of that have to do with high performance engines, even not so high performance regular engines like we're driving today. But if you're all familiar with the Veyron car, the Bugatti Veyron, which is a 250, I think, 6 mile per hour. Well, you can't call it a street car. It's legal for the street, but you can't call it a street car. Not a 1.4 mil. It's way above my pay grade. So the bottom line, that vehicle's transaxle assembly was designed by Ricardo. Ricardo also designed the transaxle in Ford's GT, and Ford came out with a GT. And by the way, Ford is re-entering Le Mans with the newest 16 GT. And that's going to be a very interesting, we'll know come February, because in February, when Le Mans runs in a 24-hour Rolex in Daytona, we're going to see the Ford GT there. And that's got to be, well, what they're hoping for, and Chip Ganassi the other day was talking about, what they're hoping for is to just get a piece of the in the 60s when Ford won 1, 2, 3. So, folks, that's it for this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Sure, I'm proud that you tuned in for this hour. Let you know we've got another hour coming up. It's a hot day today. It's weather that is not necessarily so friendly for the inside of your engine and the underside of your hood. So you want to make sure that your oil has been changed. You can use the brand that you choose, but get the old stuff out. Make sure you service and clean the radiator, and make sure that the tires are rotated, the brakes are checked. Just do what we call an annual inspection. You might call it a road trip, but a road trip inspection to me just smacks of, well, look at the hoses and belts and kick the tires. That's not what an inspection is all about. An inspection should have a codified process, and that list should direct the technician to go from point A to point B. That's what we use in our service shop. Hey, thanks for tuning in this hour. It's just another car clinic that's in the books. I'll be back after the top of the hour with the second half, in the second hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Likis, you'll love it.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast. Press written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Today's new is on Cardone Ultra Premium calipers. Over 70% of all vehicles released since 2002 feature premium wheels. While stylish, these premium wheels increase brake caliper visibility, and rusty calipers detract from the premium look. Cardone Ultra Premium calipers feature an exclusive weatherproof silver coating that protects against rust and corrosion. In a side-by-side comparison, set in a humidity chamber simulating a year of average driving, competitors' calipers developed significant rust after 100 hours. But Cardone Ultra Premium calipers still look new. Installation's easy, and Cardone Ultra Premium packaged with all necessary hardware. Now, through November 30, every Cardone Ultra Premium caliper gives you a chance to win a Ford Mustang GT, and monthly winners will also be chosen to win a $250 Visa gift card. Register and report each product code at CardoneUltra.com. That's CardoneUltra.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Bob, what's new? Last month I'm in Africa. When this wildebeest charges me, we butt heads and he's history. After I pull my guide from the jaws of an alligator, I dig into some beef jerky. I get heartburn. My Rolaids as I'm fighting off a wild boar. In under 10 seconds it starts working. Then the boar is bye-bye. My heartburn's gone.
Rolade starts working in under 10 seconds? You expect me to believe that?
It's true. Rolade starts neutralizing acid in under 10 seconds. ROLADE spells relief. Use as directed.
While Johnny Kim was getting ready for the first customers of the day, someone else was looking at larger space for his growing business. At 3 o'clock, while the Curtis family was watching their daughter's soccer game, someone else was walking through one of their apartment buildings. And while Carmen Delabar was preparing for a fashion show, someone else met with an appraiser about her investment property. You've got a life. Live it. We're realtors. Real estate is our life.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome to this hour of Bobby Likis. We're celebrating our 24th anniversary this year for broadcasting and global casting Bobby Likis Car Clinic. And yours truly gets to sit in a very nice studio. It's a place you'd want to be if there happened to be a hurricane nearby. And of course, on the Gulf Coast of Florida, we're located in Pensacola, Florida. And I remember going through Ivan. I don't want to do that again, but I can tell you this studio with its 10,000-pound floor and its 800-pound doors, this is the place to be in case of a hurricane. So I don't know about you, but my cars are also ready for the road, because if I hear of a hurricane coming, I'm going to hit the road. So that's another reason to tune in. And by the way, I invite you to call. Kim will take your call at 888 Car Clinic, 888-227-2546. This segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you by Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Stay ahead of engine threats like gunk, corrosion, and wear with new Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline, the best total engine protection you can buy. Fill your tank with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline, and you'll feel the difference. I'm going to take your calls when I get back, or actually, Miss Kim is going to take your calls at 888-227-2546. I mentioned the bad or the hot weather. You better have a good radiator cap like Stant. Stant is the expert when it comes to radiator caps, thermostats, and fuel caps, supplying manufacturers as far back as Henry Ford's Model A. You can trust that Stant fuel caps will deliver OE performance. A leaking fuel cap is more than just the pain of a check engine light. Evaporating fuel costs money. Stant fuel caps are built so well, they can even seal with part of the cap broken away, helping to keep you safe. Stant also offers locking fuel caps. Drive to Stant.com or your local retailer today. That's Stant.com. Heat. It can destroy your engine. Beat the heat. Ice from Royal Purple. Purple Ice is a high-performance synthetic additive for your radiator that improves heat transfer and prevents engine overheating. Nothing cools like Purple Ice, and Purple Ice works with red or green coolant. Go to EngineHeat.com for more information and pick up Purple Ice at Advance and O'Reilly Auto Parts and Pep Boys. Purple Ice. History is full of automotive breakthroughs, like Henry Ford's Model T in 1908 and flashing turn signals in 1935. Now, Shell is proud to introduce another automotive breakthrough, Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline, featuring an innovative additive package with patented technology. Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline all three main types of engine performance threats: gunk, corrosion, and wear. All gasolines have minimal amounts of cleaning agents required by EPA, but this may not be sufficient to prevent buildup of deposits. Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline provides protection against gunk and corrosion, plus superior protection against wear. Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline, proven in industry-standard tests and recommended by BMW M Series. Don't give your engine just any premium gasoline. Choose a breakthrough. Choose Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Learn more at shell.com/US.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
The following is a consumer alert. If you purchased a Philips light bulb 2 years ago and it is still working, do not panic. A Philips Halogena bulb is guaranteed to last 2 years. Therefore, your light bulb is not possessed, and you are not trapped in a time warp.
Philips, light bulbs that last. Guarantee based on 4 hours average daily use. See package for details.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Right along with me, and I'll share with you information and not only my opinions, but my experience in the 44 years that we've operated, and to this day, some 50 or 60 hours, a full service, bumper-to-bumper automotive repair and preventive maintenance, if there is such a word, and there is. We like to think of it as pre-repair or the prevention of repair, and that's a program that yours truly and our team spent many years to codify that program. And basically what it do, there's a program that we created that addresses the health of your vehicle as it is found. And if that vehicle has less than 36,000 miles on it, which is relatively new at that point, but if you begin the process and enter the program, the pre-repair program, when the car has less than 36,000 miles on it, for those cars that have multiple drivetrains, like for instance the Tahoe that has the four-wheel drive vehicles, you've got two differentials and a transmission and brakes and power steering, radiator cooling system, air conditioning system, EGR, those systems, there's some, and get this folks, some $12,000 that is put into an account for your automobile. Now, it's that my company puts in. It's an international company. It's not a warranty. It is a protection plan. And that protection plan is provided to me for my pre-repair program from the company that I purchase my tools and equipment and my fluids, the liquids from. And so that's how they make their money. And they make their money by producing a product that is protective. And we created that protection plan, use their products, so it makes us look good. It makes our customers happier because you're not spending $2,000 or $1,500 or $4,000 to repair a transmission. You're spending $250 to prevent it from needing repair. And you say, well, how does that work? If your car has less than 36,000 miles, then that protection plan kicks in. If it has more than 36,000 miles, it's the same plan, except there's 50 cents on the dollar is what the program. Instead of $12,000, it would be $6,000. But nonetheless, it's not something that you pay for, nor I. It comes with and is supplied by our, if you call them a vendor, but they're more, I like to think of them more as a partner. So those are the kind of services, really, and I say services, those are the pre-repair or prevention of repair services that we have found in our 44 years that, number one, make our company stand out. And that's what every small business owner wants to do, is to have that independent limelight. And to that end, oh, by the way, let me invite you to call, and because I want to share what's coming up here is really, really, really way cool, that what my team has just accomplished. So I'm going to pat them on the back. But first, Kim will take your calls at 888 Car Clinic. If you happen to have a service provider in Kansas or in Washington State or in D.C. or in California, give us a call, or Nebraska. You give us a call and share your story of success with everyone across the nation, because we all hear about horror stories in car repair, but there are many, many technicians and small business owners who work diligently day in and day out, hours at a time, to make sure that their customers' cars run as well and as perfect as possible. No such thing as perfection, but you can get pretty darn close, is what a tool and die maker once told me when I said, Mr. Thompson, what you're doing is perfect here. He looked at me, no, Bobby, nothing's perfect. It's pretty close, as we call it in the tool and die business. So that's the real advantage of being proactive about your car. And there are many in our industry that look at maintenance and call it predictive maintenance, and that's what the government and the military uses, predictive. What is predictive? Well, it means that you've got 150,000 miles on your timing chain, or 190,000 miles on your timing chain, and you're going to have the water pump off. Do you put a timing chain on it? Well, duh. Yeah. Now, is it more money? Yes. So you say, well, gosh, I'm going to spend X amount of money for a water pump. Why would I go in and say, I want to spend extra money? it's not extra money in as much as if you looked at the job separately from the water pump, you'd be paying twice or 70% more. So you're saving a great deal of dollars because the labor it takes to gain access to the front of the motor to replace the pump and the belts, hoses in that arena, you're right there at either the timing chain or in many cases the timing belt. So those are the kind of things that are pretty simple if you know them. If you don't know them, of course, nothing's simple. It's like going to a and you leave there and you say, well, gosh, what question should I have asked that I didn't? So Kim will take your calls at 888-227-46, put you in the queue, and I will put you on the air. What I want to share with you is that my team, for the 5th year, won an award from Gannett's Best of the Bay. And I'm really proud because this year it was a particularly competitive event because every single new car dealership, every independent store, every chain store, every tire store, every oil change store, either collectively, were all in that same professional category. And if you didn't see your shop there, you wrote in. There was a place to write in your shop. We won 2 categories. We won both of those categories. Car Clinic Service Pre-Repair, our team of ASE certified professionals won the Gulf Coast Best of the Bay in both the Best Automotive Service Shop category and Best Oil Change category. And I got to tell you, we're not in the oil change business per se. We don't have someone standing by holding up a flag saying we're ready to change your oil and filter. Why? Because quite candidly, changing oil and filter is part of what should be an inspection. It should be a 5,000 to 7,000 mile inspection with an oil change. It shouldn't be an oil change. And you say, well, why not? That's what it's due. So let me ask you a question. Let's just say that you're planning to go to today. You're planning to go to see the Blue Angels fly at Pensacola Beach. You will be hours and hours in traffic. And I can assure you it's already started to people trying to cross the 3-mile bridge from Pensacola over to Gulf Breeze, then from Gulf Breeze in and over to Pensacola Beach where the Blues will fly. That will be a fantastic program. I'm really proud to say that the Blues are stationed right here in Pensacola at the Naval Air Station. It's a fantastic facility. We have the 2nd largest naval aviation museum in the world. It's a place that you should put on your bucket list. And well, you don't have to wait to put it on a bucket list. On your gotta-do now list versus a bucket list. And speaking about radiators, I want to share with you, it's what's really important. You may have heard, and I talked about the protection plan that we offered, a radiator guarantee that Peak Antifreeze provides that I think is really kind of neat. It's really simple. Auto is known for engineering some of the most technologically advanced antifreezes and coolants in the market. And I think they brag a bit, and I guess it's okay to do that. If it ain't brag, it's just facts. But they're good. It comes with a guarantee. So when you protect your cooling system with Peak Global Lifetime or their long life antifreeze and coolant, they'll guarantee your radiator system. All you have to do is purchase your Peak Global Lifetime or antifreeze coolant at a store near you and perform the initial flush and fill, and that's it. And you can go to peakauto.com for more details. It's really, really neat. Obviously, they're doing something right because they're putting their money where their mouth is, and it is a radiator guarantee. For more, go to peakauto.com. Your questions, Ms. Kim will take your car questions at 888-227-2546. Oh, iridium plugs. We talked about iridium plugs, gosh, I don't know, 6 weeks ago. And then we had several people to come into our service shop and say, well, okay, I heard you talk about the iridium plug. Are they really worth the dollars? Well, Matt Eaton is the actual manager of maintenance products for Denso Auto Parts. a new plug out. It's called the Iridium TT. Now, what does the TT stand for? I'm going to ask him that. We're going to find out, because coming up, I see that we have Houston that's calling in from Texas. That's right. Houston is calling in from Texas. That's cool. I could say something. I'm not going to. I'm going to take that call. But first, we have Matt Eaton on the line, who is the manager of maintenance products for Denso Auto Parts. I'm going to wait till after the break and have Matt join us. I see Houston is on the phone. Houston from Tyler, Texas. You stay right there. And folks, it's time for you to pick up the phone, give me a call, and I'll put you on the air at 888-227-2546. Stay tuned. And now to the Car Clinic inbox. Mike writes, Bobby, driving in Seattle's rainy weather, I've lost traction in my car enough times to scare me. What tires should I consider when it's time to replace mine? Mike, if you're losing traction, now may be the time to replace your tires. A terrific choice is General Tire's Ultimax RT43 with its peak anti-slip design technology, which increases the number of biting edges for traction on slippery roads. And you won't have to guess or measure time to replace these tires. The Ultimax RT43 features an integrated replacement tire monitor, which clearly reads replace when a tire change is needed. And one more cool feature of the Ultimax RT43, early warning visual alignment indicator, which extends life by visually identifying vehicle misalignment. Information about the Ultimax RT43, GeneralTire.com. That's GeneralTire.com. Today's light is on Denso's Iridium TT spark plugs. Your vehicle spark plugs deliver the electric current needed to ignite the fuel that runs your engine. But not all spark plugs are the same. Denso is proud to introduce the Iridium TT spark plug. Iridium is in the platinum family and is the most corrosion-resistant metal known on Earth, resisting wear and oxidation in the harshest of environments. The TT stands for twin tip. This technology promotes the largest spark energy concentration and explosion possible by shrinking the two electrodes and thus reducing spark interference. The result is better fuel economy, more power, and faster starts, all while reducing carbon emissions. Taking things a step further, Denso developed a proprietary 360-degree laser welding process, which creates a high-quality bond that ensures structural support. Denso has a tradition of innovation. Using their OE expertise, Denso products are manufactured to give you the right part and the right fit the first time, every time. Learn more about Denso's Iridium TT spark plugs at DensoTT.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Commercials are more effective if you use real people. So on the line is Angie McPhee, a Geico auto insurance customer who saved over $300. This is not an actor we hired to play Angie McPhee. It's the Angie McPhee. So in your own words, tell us, are you Angie McPhee?
Yes.
There. Unmistakable proof that Geico customers are real and save money. In 15 minutes, you could save 15%. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico. Sensible alternative.
Some original thinking by Starbucks barista Frank Botex.
What I love most is getting customers to smile in the morning. Starbucks is just a place to come and relax, kick your feet back. I mean, it's a second home. Starbucks is now in a grocery store, and what better way to just become your own personal barista at home? You go to the grocery store, pick up some coffee, take it home, let the aroma take over your body.
Your favorite Starbucks coffee. At grocery, at home, at last.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Great show today. Call Jan with your questions at 888 Car Clinic. She'll put you in the queue, and I will put you on the air. On the line with us now is Matt Eaton, Manager for Maintenance Products at Denso Auto Parts. Matt, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you in the house.
Well, glad to be here.
Share with our Car Clinic listeners and viewers, how have spark plugs changed through the years?
Well, spark plugs used to be made with copper and nickel on the center electrode tip. Later, they started using precious metals like platinum, and finally now they're using iridium, which is the strongest. Also, the shape has changed a bit as space became a commodity in the engine compartment. The diameters of the spark plugs have been reduced from 18. Now they're around 12 millimeters is the typical size.
So the actual physical size of spark plugs, and you mentioned 18, reminds me of the FE Ford. We raced Fords before we got into the Hemi, and sure enough, that was a huge spark plug. You could put your thumb in the hole when you removed it. So when they changed the combustion and the combustion chamber, they reduced the size. So your property, and not only Denso's, but every spark plug manufacturer's property got smaller. And so that's the main reason for the smaller spark plug. What's the typical lifespan of a spark plug?
The typical lifespan now is for the OE plugs just around 100,000 miles. Of course, back then, spark plugs had a typical life of around 30,000. And then when the Platinum came along, it became around 60,000. And again, now with the Iridium, it's about 90 to 100,000 in most cases.
And Matt, isn't it true to say that in too many cases, perhaps earlier on as the mileage started to increase, the change interval with spark plugs, I saw many cars in our Car Clinic Service pre-repair automotive service shop that the spark plug may well last 60, 80, 100,000 miles, but there were other supporting parts of that vehicle not. And so it took a while before, and even to this day, coils and coil-over plugs, sometimes the plug will outlast the electronics. Have you seen that happen?
Oh, it happens, absolutely. Spark plugs now, again, when they were the 30,000 mark, that 30,000 change interval was pretty typical. Everybody would go in and get the preventive maintenance done at 30,000. Now with the spark plug lasting longer, I mean, you're just seeing all these other components fail first, and the spark plug really isn't that frequent maintenance item anymore.
We're talking with Matt Eaton, Manager for Maintenance Products at Denso Auto Parts. Matt, let's shift gears and talk about the use of Iridium. Tell Car Clinic audiences what makes this a better spark plug.
Well, Iridium is highly resistant to heat, voltage wear, and corrosion. And actually, it's in the platinum family of metals, and it's one of the hardest and durable metals in the world. Iridium enables the manufacturer to make very small diameter center electrodes, and electrodes mean that there's less voltage for the plug to fire, and the ignition becomes more concentrated, and faster flame propagation occurs.
So it's all about converting air-fuel mixture into heat and burning that mixture that drives that piston that drives the wheels. Let's shift gears again. Are Denso's Iridium TT spark plugs only for the performance-minded vehicle owners, or can anyone benefit?
No, absolutely. Anyone can benefit. As we said, the Iridium lasts over 100,000 miles, so we're beating out most of the current OE. Replacement cycles seem to be getting longer, but we're probably at the end of the realistic expansion of that replacement cycle. But also, there's the optimal performance, which comes with the twin-tip design, and that's really the key. Those two tips allow for very little interference for that flame propagation, and that little interference allows that flame to grow. And when you have a better flame growth, you have better fuel economy, you have a better burn, you have better performance. And of course, that leads to better emissions as well when you're burning up everything.
You mentioned the twin tips, and again, the Denso TT, the TT stands for twin tips. Tell us what those tips are made of and how the structure is created there at Denso.
Well, the Iridium TT center electrode is made with an Iridium fine point, and that point is 0.4 millimeters in diameter. And that's the world's smallest electrode, and that's achievable by using Denso's proprietary Iridium alloy. And on the ground electrode, there is a platinum needle-like protrusion coming from the ground electrode to meet up with that center electrode. And essentially, those two needles open up that area where the spark ignites, and an open area, and that less interference is really contributes to the flame growth.
And Matt, that brings you out another question from a technical standpoint. Many of my Car Clinic listeners, they're interested in new products, but they're on the technical side as I. You mentioned interference a couple of times. What is interference? Explain how that interferes. Explain how a spark could interfere with lighting a fire.
Okay, well, that's actually think of it like in the old design, you have this very large center electrode and a very large diameter ground electrode as well, and a very tight. What happens is, when the spark ignites, those big pieces of metal essentially absorb that spark energy. And of course, once you're absorbing that energy and moving it, into the metals of the spark plug, you're going to reduce your flame propagation, and that's the key.
That makes a lot of sense. So, in essence, we have the smallest diameter center electrode at 0.4 millimeters. It's made of an iridium alloy. How does Denso connect that small tip to the rest of the center electrode that goes up to the spark plug wire and the coil?
Well, we actually developed a patented 360-degree laser welding technology, using it for decades in the OE arena, but it's now, of course, available in our aftermarket TT as well.
And folks, the OE is the original equipment. That's the car makers of the world. Right. So Denso has been supplying for years. This technology now has come to the aftermarket with a Denso TT spark plug. I guess my final question, Matt, where can our Car Clinic listeners and viewers go for more information?
Well, you can go to the Iridium site. It's called DensoTT.com. That's the direct site, or our corporate site is DensoAftermarket.com.
Matt, thank you so much. This is very interesting. We are currently testing spark plugs in a 2015 STI high-performance vehicle, and we will get back with our audiences and give a report at a little bit later date when we have some data to share with everyone. But in the meantime, folks, you can go to denso.com for more information. Matt Eaton, Denso Auto Parts. Matt, thank you so much for joining us on Bobby Likis Car Clinic today.
Thank you for the opportunity.
And there you have it. That's the latest. And one of the things, a little takeaway that I would share with you folks is that we talk about aftermarket parts, and you say, well, gosh, I know this question's come up many times in my service shop. Well, if they're so good, why aren't the car makers using them? Well, in this case, Denso has supplied the OEs for years and years and years, and actually is bringing that same technology to the aftermarket in Iridium TT, the twin tip plug. So that just shows you that there's a lot of connectivity there. And when you think of a product, you think of a product that we test and that I endorse. It's one that I've tested, and believe it or not, it's one that may already be in your automobile or certainly available for your automobile, be it aftermarket. Let's go to Texas and take a call from Houston. Houston, welcome to Bobby Likis. Well, actually, welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hey, I was wondering if you remembered me or not.
Hey, your brother's name's Austin.
Yes, sir.
And your dad's. I can't remember your dad's name, but it's a single syllable, and a plain. I say plain name, a generic like Gene or George.
Norman.
Well, Norman. That's what it is. Norman. Well,
hey, you remember me calling in with my 4Runner issue a couple weeks ago?
I don't quite remember the issue, but I remember you calling in because you're Houston from Texas. How could I not remember that? And you have a brother named Austin.
That.
Hey, what's the update? What's the latest?
Well, it was running real sluggish, where I would stop and go, and it would sometimes run when it wanted to good, and then idle fine, and I would punch it completely and it wouldn't move, but it would rev up.
Right.
You were thinking time in. We had discussed a whole bunch of issues. Well, I'll tell you, a $7 can of mass airflow solved the issue.
Cool. Really?
So that's what it was, man. It was just a dirty mass airflow sensor, and after digging around and having the fuel pressure tested and just kind of waiting and researching before I started dumping money, I had a recommendation to go grab a can, and I'll tell you what, it was either that or resetting the computer by taking the terminals off, one or the other. It's cooking now.
Well, congratulate you, and I'm glad that you're the kind of car owner. Number one, you're the kind of individual that wants answers, and you're not. It's not that you're going to say, well, okay, this is the absolute fix because you had no way to know, but you're willing to take the next step. And I think that's really important. It's certainly, number one, it saved you a lot of money. A mass airflow sensor, a new mass airflow sensor, it's got to be a couple of $100. I don't know what they are, but let's say at least 200. And then you have shop labor on top of that, and you have reprogramming on top of that. So you got to be, I guess you got to be kind of proud, huh?
Hey, I'm just glad I didn't spend a bunch of money that wasn't necessary when $7 fixed it. I kind of just dealt with the problem, drove it the way it was until I found the right person who recommended the right thing, who happened to just come across my path. But I just wanted to call and give you an update because you helped me along with my research and trying to figure out what the heck is this thing.
Houston, remind our listeners what you drive so that if we have someone out there that may have a similar problem, and folks, Houston is calling from Tyler, Texas. He has as I understand, a 99 Toyota Runner. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And the issue was it was just running real sluggish. It would sit at idle just fine, and then I would give it somewhat of gas. It would start to bog, and then it would finally kick in. And mass airflow is apparently a big problem, and making sure to keep them clean is even a bigger problem. Just got to make sure to keep that done.
Well, again, congratulations, and hey, thanks so much for checking back in with Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Great to hear from you always, and hats off to your family. Tell Norman hello and your brother Austin, okay?
Will do, sir. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Right back at you. Well, there you have it. I bet that's the best $7 that man's ever spent. We're going to take a commercial break, and then we're going to come back. I see Jim is on and in the queue, and we'll put you in the queue at 888 Car Clinic. That's 888-227-2546. This segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic was brought to you by Stant Corporation, makers of the Superstat. Reach for the thermostat professional installers prefer. Learn more about Stant Superstat at stant.com. Back with your calls. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Improving ethanol production efficiency in concert with new farming technologies means the energy benefits of ethanol continue to grow. In recent research, the U.S. Department of Agriculture determined ethanol's energy balance to be 1.7 to 2.3. That's to say today's ethanol production yields nearly twice as much energy as it took to create the gallon. Also, ethanol's chemical composition means a more complete, cleaner burn of fuel in vehicle engines. Increasing ethanol use in gasoline is directly leading to cleaner air and fewer toxic tailpipe emissions. In 2011, ethanol use reduced tailpipe CO2 equivalent emissions by 25.3 metric tons, equivalent to the emissions of 4 million vehicles. I'm Bobby Likis with 20 facts about ethanol, brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
You can call them used. You can call them previously driven. You can call them anything you want. The point is somebody, maybe even a dozen somebodies, owned the car before you did. And before you put down your hard-earned dollars for the car, you deserve to know exactly where it's been. Get a vehicle history report from Carfax.com. They'll give you the real history of any used car. Visit CARFAX.com or ask your dealer for a Carfax report. Don't buy a used car without Carfax.
I, Dennis Walker, pledge allegiance to the roof. I know it'll be clean. I know it will be comfortable. And I know that if the phone rings when I'm in the shower, I can just let it ring. For I have voicemail. Red Roof Inn, one room, under budget, with free cable and local calls for all.
98% of Red Roof guests are so satisfied with their visit, they plan to come back. Now that's not just loyalty, that's allegiance. For reservations, call 800-RED ROOF.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And thank you, Marty White. Welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Remember, every Saturday from 10 till noon Eastern Time. So just kind of set your calendars, and just in case in some areas this program is tape delayed and could be aired as late as Sunday. You just want to know that every Saturday from 10 till noon Eastern Time, you can reach out to 888 Car Clinic. That's 888-227-25. Miss Kim will put you in a queue, and I will take your calls on the air. Let's go to Jim now, who's calling from Mississippi. Jim, welcome to Bobby. Well, I'm going to say welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Always great to hear from you, my friend.
Well, great, Bobby. Bobby, I heard Houston talking on the radio, and I thought that was me. All I can say is ditto. I have fought this. I love my SUV. I've always wanted one that's become available. I got it, and I was getting 12 miles a gallon. You step on it, it wouldn't go. It bogged down. When it would catch, it'd tack out at about $5,000. I have changed everything from converters to a timing belt. I took it to two of the top-notch mechanics here in Laurel, Mississippi. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. And I left his shop, one of them shop, and it was bogging down. He said, come back here, come back here. He changed that massive airflow sensor. Right. It's run good for 3 or 4 days. Well, I finally found out what it was. Okay. It's a combination of the two. It's a massive airflow, well, 3. Butterfly valve in that is dirty. The massive airflow sensor, and coming off that, what I call a snorkel. Right. There back to your breathing, there's 2 lines on the left. One goes back in under that plenum. Exactly. Air control valve. I cleaned that air control valve. Bobby, I'm getting 110 miles to a quarter of a tank of gas where I was getting 45 to 50.
It doesn't surprise me. You take an engine that's just no power, and here's the difference. Just think about pulling up a hill. Think about with a load. So if you're driving on a flat plane and you've got no load, a 1/4 inch or half-inch throttle movement goes X speed and X power. But if you've got a load and you're pulling up a hill, you'd have to go 1 1/4 inches to duplicate that same power. Well, yes. If the engine is down on power, it thinks there's a big load because the horsepower that's available to weight ratio, and Jim, all race cars, it's all about horsepower to weight ratio. Well, street cars too. So in your case, you had an engine that I'll bet you that your engine was down 50% on power, 40% anyway, and what's worse is the computer doesn't know. It just says, hey, you're not running, and you as a driver say, well, this doesn't work, and you step on the accelerator hard, and the computer puts in more fuel, but it doesn't equate to more power. So yes. Hats off to you. And Houston did a great job there. We talked about, I actually believed, or at least one of the ideas that I had now that memory is stirred, was that he might have a torque converter, a stator in the torque converter, because he said it from a traffic light, he stepped on the accelerator, and then finally it would go. Well, a stator in a torque converter would cause that very similar problem, and that's why it helps, and it's essential to take notes when you've got a car that's got a problem or a truck that's got a problem. Take notes. And for years, I've recommended, and of course now it's easier because you can just take notes, a voice note on your iPhone. But the bottom line, how much fuel is in the engine? I mean, in the gas tank. Whether or not you've got the air conditioner on, if it's raining outside or dry, if it's warm, cold, or hot. Cold means the engine in the morning and drive off. Warm is that warm up first 6 miles, and then hot means normal operating temperature. So all of those things call for different tunes and call for different timings, and the engine is sensitive to all those. And then you throw in your case, well, I don't know how much money you spent, but you threw a lot of parts on that truck, right?
Well, I did, but one thing I found out, though, Bobby, I'm not going to say the truck is fixed. I'm just going to say it's running better. So once it starts this again, I don't want to have. Look, Bobby, I've said this time and time again. I am a mechanic. I am not a technician.
I hear you.
I can take anything apart and put it back together, make it run right, not have no leftover parts. But this thing here, once it starts this again, if it does, I'll know to pull that plenum off. While I got the plenum off, I'm going to go ahead and check my injectors. That's another question right there, Bobby. On those injectors, you got 2 O-rings, top and bottom, right. Plus you got a flat washer in
Right.
in the center.
Right.
A lot of mechanics tell me now, when you put them back in there, don't put that flat washer back in there so the fuel will circulate through that rail better. Is there anything to that?
Well, I'd have to. They'd have to show me that any technician that wants to modify the engineering of any part of any car. Now, I'm not talking about doing exhaust modifications. I'm talking about changing the way something is engineered.
Well, you talk about the aftermarket. Now, the aftermarket washers has a groove to it, so the fuel can pass through the groove, come in one side, go around, come out the other side.
Well, the bottom line is that's all up to the engineering of that particular part of that particular vehicle. So I'd have to show and tell. In other words,
yes,
I only believe it when I see it. And to that end,
yes,
Jim, before I let you go, one last point. It is my protocol and my nature and my directive that whenever we have a problem, we solve the problem. And if we said, okay, I'm holding a pen in my hand, this pen caused a problem, I'll put it down. And what I'll do is once we solve a problem, I will actually put the old part back on the car, unless it's major surgery. And especially if it's electronic control, I'll put the old problem. I said, okay, if that was truly the problem, when we put the old part back on, we should have the same problem we had before. And there are times, many times, where that's not the case. And there are electronic connections. So a lot of times you can unplug, and I've given this tip for I don't know how many years, for years and years, but I haven't given it in the last 3 or 4 years. If you've got a vehicle, and mainly because I don't want to instruct car owners to start taking wires apart. But from a technician's standpoint, if you can't find the problem, unplug every connector you can find under the hood, look down at the connector and look for any green corrosion, lubricate it with, and Johnny Bars is our lead master technician in our service shop. And go to him at least once a week and say, give me some of that magic stuff. And he has a lubricant that we use that protects electronics, that lubricates squeaky door hinges. It is an all-purpose lubricant that I don't even remember the name of it, but I can tell you it's fantastic stuff. And he came to me one day and we were having a problem with an ignition switch, and he said, this will fix it. And it was a mechanical issue. It was sticking in its own sleeve, and that his lubricant fixed it, and it was enough for me. The bottom line is you got to know when to hold them, and then when you do think you know what's wrong with it and you do make a change it back and see if it returns with it. Therein lies.
I'm going to drive this until
drive it and let me know. Hey, thanks for calling.
And then once it does, then I'll know what to do to try to fix it. I just hate pulling that plenum off. And because it's a half-a-day job, take it off and put it back on there.
Yeah, but you work free anyway, so.
I don't know. My price is high if I'm working somebody else. Well, Bobby, y'all have a super fine weekend.
All right, my friend. Thank you very much. Always great to hear from you, Jim. We'll take a call. Next call is going to come from New York. Herm in New York. I see that John, we're going to try to get to John too. But John, we may or may not get to you. We're working that way. Herm from New York, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hi, Bobby. I have a quick question for you. My wife, believe it or not, has leasing a 2013 Accent. She has less than 1,200 miles on it. We change the oil on a regular basis at least every 6 months. The question is becoming, when the lease comes up, would you recommend buying it or turning it in and just lease another one? She drives it only 3 days a week back and forth to church where she works.
You know, that's a great question, and I am currently faced with a similar scenario. I leased my new car in 2013, and I leased it so that at the end of 3 years, I would already have it sold, so I would have the option to keep it or turn it in. And yes, it cost me a little more to do that. Now, as it turns out, and it was a 2013 Stretch XJL Jaguar that I created. The color is fantastic. I won't even go into all the if and ands and options on that car, but I truly enjoy this vehicle. It gets 26.7 miles per gallon at 77 miles per hour average, and it's a fantastic luxury car. It's parked just outside the studio. I will be buying that car. Why? Because it has a color that's no longer available, and the design of the car was not significantly changed thought that by 2016, which was when my lease goes up, I thought that the 2016 model year would have a change of body, and I also wanted the latest and greatest technology. Now, that quick question to you, your wife's Hyundai Accent, have they changed the body significantly, or if she got a new one, would it look like the one that she has?
It would look like the one she has, and I don't think she can get the color that she has now anymore.
Well, there you have it. You and I, see, it's unbelievable. You and I are in the same boat. I only have, my car has 26,000 miles on it, and 30 was my limit. I signed up at 10,000 miles a year, and I'm tracking exactly 10,000 miles a year. And I have to tell you, I just put a new set of tires on the car, and this car rides, drives. In fact, it got rained on yesterday, so last night at 6 o'clock, between 6 and 7:15, I was in my driveway cleaning the car. I truly enjoy it. The color is no longer available. That car is not upgraded. The thing that I don't care for on the car is the navigation system and the dash, the way that the electronics, so that could be upgraded, and it has been upgraded, but not worthy of spending the dollar. So it sounds to me like your wife maybe should keep the car that she has. Now, will you buy it? That's what you'll have to do, right?
Right. Either buy it or turn it in, one or the other.
I'd buy it. I'd keep it. At 1,200, you said 1,200 miles, right?
1,200 miles. It's truly the little old lady who drives back and forth to church.
Don't you love it? Don't you love it? As long as you change the oil regularly and realizing that her short trips are more detrimental to and cause more condensation to build up than is in the normal case. But in a long scheme of things, I would say keep the car.
All right. Thank you so much, Bobby.
Thank you. Thanks for calling. Interesting. Quick call to John. John wants to promote infant safety, and I'm going to allow him. So, John Joyner, quickly, we're out of time, but give us your 30,000-foot elevator speech with regard to children's safety.
Okay, Bobby. Thank you so much.
Welcome so much.
Save backseat infants from heat death. So far this summer, have heard none of this happening, and hope it will continue. And anyone out there who hears this message now in your audience who has an infant or knows someone with an infant, please share this information with him. All states should make the following a law. An infant safety seat must be tethered to the driver or other front passenger when a child is riding in the back. Mm-hmm. Now, that's going to disallow for getting that infant back there. And I'm trying to make it a law. I did hear from 2 days ago, I heard from our senators, representatives from here in Florida, and they're going to have me at a meeting in October to present this. It may become a discussion and debate when they go back in session early in 16, and it may become a law. And I'm hoping folks out there will just practice it. Tell anyone you know with an infant to help make sure they don't forget that one back there. And I just had my third grandson born the other day, Austin. His middle name is Austin. You were talking to a fellow from Houston who's a brother named Austin.
Yes.
I enjoyed the heck out of that.
Thank you, John.
And I had my grandson born, middle name Austin. Just tell some folks, tell anyone you know with an infant to practice this. Just a little tether cord. It's like a 1/4-inch cord. It's attached to the infant seat in the back and then clipped onto you as a driver or someone else in the front seat. It's just a practice to make sure your memory doesn't fail you and fail that little one back there.
Well, John,
okay?
I will tell you, John, I will, as you just explained to our listeners, thank you for that tip and thank you for pursuing your passion. Just think about this. You might save a child's life, and folks, that's really where the rubber meets the road. John Joyner from Florida, thank you. Actually, near Avon, down. And where John, where do you live? Near Avon Park? Yes, Avon Park. Thank you very much. Let's go to D.B. Cooper. D.B. Cooper, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Thank you, Bobby. I have an 02 Ford Windstar.
Okay.
And when I'm in traffic on a hot day, I mean like in a having stop and go, or in a shopping center where you're. I have this condition that seems like a vapor lock. The engine will die, but it differs from a vapor lock because then I can start it up again right away. And if I keep my foot on the accelerator, it'll continue to run. Once I get it out on the road, it'll disappear. It'll just go back to normal.
I'm going to say that that's a hot soak, heat related. In the interest of time, which we are out of, DB, and thank you for your call, I'm going to say that is definitely a temperature controlled, and I would look first at the ignition system, because the fuel system is a round robin. In other words, the pump pumps fuel to the engine, and whatever the engine doesn't use, that fuel goes right back to the gas tank, and so that keeps the fuel cool. Now, they have the Windstar has had some fuel problems, so check fuel pressure and make sure that when they check fuel pressure, a service shop, they check residual pressure. And folks, tick your calendars. That's the end of today's broadcast. Bobby Likis, Car Clinic. Have a great weekend. Congratulations. I'll talk to you again next week. Likis, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Production and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
The relationship with your vehicle is about trust. You trust in your car or truck to get you to work or play. So when your car needs to be repaired, make sure you trust the parts your technician uses to get your vehicle going again. With over 100 years of OE expertise, Delphi has earned your trust. Delphi supplies OE automotive technologies to the world's top 25 vehicle manufacturers. Take ignition systems. Manufacturing more than 23 million ignition coils every year, Delphi uses tolerances that are tighter than standard industry practice to ensure winding consistency. And Delphi's advanced magnetic design and modeling capabilities result in a more efficient coil design, helping deliver optimum engine performance, exhaust emission, and fuel economy. That's better for your car, better for you. For over a century, Delphi has had the parts that help vehicles worldwide run better, longer, and more efficiently. Learn more at DelphiAutoparts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
P. Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Loden or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make you whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain